They don't, Capricorn energy, they don't, that's
communication.
All right,
live.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. It's Leonore. I'm just setting myself up. I hope everyone from the other stream could join me. So I'm gonna just take down the other stream, guys. I know some of you are waiting for me there. So let's take it down. So I'm looking at the other screen, guys. So Savvy, Gabby, B Rabbit, Infinite, thank you for coming in. I'm gonna take down this screen. So join me in the other one, okay? And for those who are watching me later, please be a little patient here because I'm doing this Zoom live. Okay. All right. All right, so today, just so you know, we're doing the Capricorn and, all right, B Rabbit, you're here. Today, we're going to do the Capricorn and Aquarius, the insight and information for Capricorn and Aquarius. I'm just waiting for a few people to come and join me on this stream because I took the other stream down, okay? So, all right. Thank you, B Rabbit. Thank you, B Rabbit. All right, I should take the other one down. Let me see. Can I do that? Well, whatever. I'll take it down later. I hope everyone's doing well. Riley and I are basically at the end of our insight and information for all 12 zodiac signs. Hi, Infinite. Thank you for coming by. Yes, I'm so happy that you made it live this time. Riley and I were supposed to do the Capricorn and Aquarius, I don't know, earlier this week, and we couldn't do it. So I apologize. I had it, you know, so that you guys know that we were going to come live today, you know, 3 days later. All right, Savvy. Thank you, Savvy. Riley, Savvy says, Savvy says he loves, that she loves you. Savvy's like, yes, Riley, I love that dude. But they all love you. They honestly all love you. Thank you, Savvy. That's amazing. Hi, love it. Infinite also says hi. Savvy says that you killed the Sagittarius one. You basically read Savvy's soul.
Sometimes I get lucky. What can I say?
All right, I was gonna take down the other stream, but I'm so scared to go back to the other stream. But anyway, whatever. I'm here. All right, I'll take it down later. All right, guys. So yes, I named the Capricorn and Aquarius the Matrix and the Architect for a very good reason. Okay, and I'm gonna get into that. Hi, Divine Guidance. Hi, Gabby. Gabby says, hello, Professor.
Hi, Gabby.
Okay. All right. So let's get started a little bit. Hi, Wake Up. I was gonna wait for a little bit more, but I think we're almost 5 minutes in, and so. Oh my God, B Rabbit. She is such a super generous person. B Rabbit, You know, B Rabbit just sent us $50 super chat. Can you believe her?
Oh,
Isn't
that's
she
so nice.
amazing? She's so
She's the best.
awesome.
She's the best.
She is so awesome. And I love her super stickers. she knows I love her super stickers. Thank you so much for supporting the channel constantly. B Rabbit gave me these amazing tarot decks. I was just bragging to Riley about it. I can't wait to use it. The Black Tarot deck. Oh my God. Thank you, B Rabbit. You are so super generous, as well as all of you with your energy, your gifts, your donation. Honestly, I can't get enough of all of you. All right. So let's get started. So Capricorn and Aquarius, the matrix and the architect. All right, so understand that both Capricorn and Aquarius are Saturn ruled, and Aquarius is also ruled by Uranus, okay? So Saturn having a binary function of two signs, both Capricorn and Aquarius, and Uranus has two planets, is ruled by two planets, okay? Saturn and Uranus. So here we have the 10th house and the 11th house. So for those who haven't watched The Matrix, you know, I just, first of all, before I go into that, I want you to know that I'm going to go back and forth with Capricorn and Aquarius. This is, Riley and I decided to do both these signs in one video because of so many different reasons. And, you know, they come one after the other one, and they're also both Saturn ruled. So we wanted to do it both in one video. So we are going to go back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius. It's not going to be like, you know, a timeline, just so you know that, okay? All right. The Matrix. What did I name Capricorn the Matrix? Well, for those who haven't watched The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, in the movie they explain the Matrix. The Matrix has it being everywhere. So Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne plays an amazing part in that movie. And the way he explains the Matrix is by saying that the Matrix is everywhere. The Matrix represents time. It represents status. It represents space. It represents money. It also represents a prison for your mind. And he goes and that's the part where he kind of tells Neo, like, do you want the red pill and the blue pill? You know, do you want to go down the rabbit hole or just stay in the Matrix? And Neo at that time decides to go into the rabbit hole. So, which brings me to Aquarius. Aquarius represents a true mind's liberation, while Capricorn represents a limitation. Understand that. Aquarius represents a true mind's liberation, while Capricorn represents limitation. So that red pill and the blue pill exactly means that. Limitation or your mind's liberation, which one? So that is an amazing representation of the Matrix. And I love it's one of my favorite movies. So I love just even cross-reference. I cross-reference movies and shows all the time anyway, if you know me, but I really wanted you to get the essence of the energy behind Capricorn and then Aquarius. So people with strong 10th house placement come from a past life of repression, abuse, imprisonment, war, slavery. So understand, with people with 10th house placement, they come from this type of karma. So when they incarnate into this life, what happens is they either want to do what they weren't able to do in a past life, or they're going to do what was done to them in a past life. That is the representation of 10th house energy, karma, and just Saturn in itself, Capricorn, the devil. Which leads me to the architect, Aquarius. Aquarius represents the opposite of that. It represents total liberation, total rebellion against society. And so the 11th house represents anything that goes against conventional, ethical, moral, anything that has to do with laws and regulation, which represents Capricorn. So you see how that flows into each other. You see how Saturn has that binary function. This is exactly what the 10th house and the 11th house represents. Okay, Capricorn and Aquarius. Understand that energy, and you'll understand the psychology behind both Capricorn and Aquarius. Also, one more thing before I go into before Riley starts to talk. I wanted to tell you that, and I just learned this recently, because Capricorn is the polar opposite of Cancer, and Cancer represents divine feminine, and Aquarius is the polar opposite of Leo, and Leo represents divine masculine. Why? Because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and Leo is ruled by the sun. So we have the moon and the sun, divine feminine and divine masculine, divine feminine, the moon, and divine masculine, the sun. So we have Capricorn that represents divine feminine energy, and Aquarius representing divine masculine energy. And it goes anyway with the elements of the signs, because Earth anyway represents feminine energy, and air represents masculine energy. So here we both have also Capricorn and Aquarius representing divine feminine and divine masculine energy. All right, so what else do you have to tell us about Capricorn and Aquarius, Mr. Riley?
Well, thank you for what you said earlier about mixing the planets, mixing those two together, and about the connection between those two based on their influential planets. The touch on Capricorn.
You're welcome, Mr. Riley.
No doubt. The touch on Capricorn. When you're dealing with Saturn, you're dealing with the Saturn influence energy. You have to understand. In regards to the Capricorn, you're dealing with cardinal Earth. And cardinal Earth is a very, very delicate and very, very important astronomical energy, because you're dealing with who we are on this physical plane. You know, a lot of other signs, you're dealing with, water, you're dealing with fire, you're dealing with air. When you're dealing with Capricorn, you're dealing with who we are in a reincarnated state on this physical plane. And that's why they call it the devil, because it represents some level of limitations and some level of heaven on earth, but also hell on earth, as being states of mind and conditions. So the Capricorn deals with a certain level of regalness. They can be controlling. They can be generous. They can have a sense of humor, believe it or not, depending on stages in their life, or they're getting what they want. But I want to touch on the devil thing, because I know a lot of Capricorns, people say, oh, the devil, but they don't really understand why they're saying that. They're dealing with the physical, not so much the spiritual aspect of things. When you're dealing with the 5 pentagrams. And when you're dealing with the 5 pentagrams, you're dealing with east, north, west, and south. Those are different areas. But you're dealing with south is fire. I think what is no, I don't want to get to that yet. We'll move on. I'm going to the Capricorn energy before I get to that. The Capricorn energy, if you ever look at it, mostly earth signs, and you check them out, they tend to have like a very melancholy, sad look about them sometimes. But that's not because they're trying to be depressed. That's more or less because the density and the vibration on earth is very low compared to the other elements. So the Capricorn or earthly energy is a little bit different. They don't have that, like that impulse of the Gemini, Aries, or that deep of thought, high energy of a let's say for of a Leo or the list goes on. They have a different density because of Earth's vibration. Air has the highest and Earth has the lowest. So that's what you mentioned before about the limitation. The limitation has to also do with the frequency that we are limited to on Earth's plane. That's why, Earth can be a sad place. It also could be a happy place. It's not easy. You come through Earth in pain, right?
Yeah.
How do we get here through our physical manifestation through a woman giving childbirth? The last time I checked, I never had childbirth, but from when I talk 99% of women that I talked to, it wasn't an easy experience.
Go ahead.
So with that being said, even before so technically, if you want to get deep, technically, to a degree, as far as energy and vibration is concerned, we all are Capricorn in a weird way, because we come through reincarnation and on this earthly plane. And I think that we need to touch on that's very important to understand that. Because when you think about money and power and greed, and that's not limited to a Capricorn sign. That's just the energy that we have on an earthly plane. And that's why we call it the devil, because it's more geared towards tangible, not necessarily spiritual.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes, but that's exactly on our birth chart what the MC represents. So the four cardinals are starts with Aries being the first house, Cancer being the fourth house, Libra being the seventh house, and Capricorn being the 10th house. That is the cardinal cross. Right. That's pretty much the pentagram that Riley was talking about: earth, air, fire, water, the ether. But it also represents, I don't know if you ever seen like the guy, the man with the hands out and the legs out, representing the arms, the legs, the head, which also is the representation of the 5-star. So the head being the ether, again, air, water, fire, water, whatever. Earth. These are all representation, like the Capricorn, the 10th house, has a lot of representations and meanings of the material world. The MC represents your career, your status, and what are you meant to do? What is it that you're here to conquer? Because that's what the 10th house represents. It's what is it that you're here to conquer? So, all that represents Capricorn. Saturn is a very strong planet. It's actually the second sun. They used to call it the second sun, but they call it the second sun because in ancient times they thought Saturn was the sun. Or they I don't know why they thought Saturn was the sun, but they went by that energy of that planet when the solar system was a little bit more condensed, just a little bit, obviously. But the Saturn, you could see Saturn very close to Earth, ancient times, prehistory times. I think if I'm not mistaken, the Aztecs or the Mayans, I think it's the Mayans. The Mayans considered Saturn the sun. So, when you hear Saturn's return or, people with Saturn energy, it's very strong in all our birth chart, including your MC, including your Saturn placement. That is where your karma comes from. It represents the epitome of the devil, because if you don't pay, you don't play. And that is Earth's energy. That's exactly, Riley, thank you for breaking that down for Capricorn's energy.
Oh, no, not a problem. And thank you for mentioning when I was going to talk about the pentagram, and you know how like when you go south, that's like fire, and air is like east, and west is water, and north is earth. And the ether around that, like you mentioned, is the synergy that holds it together. You know, and if you look at what animal represents Capricorn?
The goat.
Okay, thank you. And goats that are not domesticated, what do?
They just climb mountains.
They're always trying to get to the top.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? That goat energy, or even people say, even the acronym for GOAT, the greatest of all time. There's an energy behind that animal, but also, if you know anything about goats, is you ever feed a goat?
No, but I heard they eat everything.
But they don't stop. Greed. They'll keep coming. They'll keep coming. They'll keep coming. You know, I have known Capricorn people who have eyes that look just like goats. It's a certain energy behind that animal. And you know, I don't like to look at any astrological sign of being bad or good, because if we're on this physical plane, we're here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? We're on a physical plane for a reason, and because of that reason, we're here to learn something so we can go back to the origin state from where we came. So that's why I don't like to hone in on them as being negative at all. It's an experience. It's a transition period. But the goat does that. The goat, it climbs, it comes to the top. It's ambitious. The Capricorn is ambitious, you know. And as far as heaven and hell is concerned, in my personal interpretation, those are more about states of being than actual locations. Like, in other words, like we live in New York, right? So somebody might say, yo, how is it outside? And you say, yo, it's cold as hell out there. Or it's hot as hell. Well, I'm tired as hell. I don't look at hell personally as a physical place that you're gonna go and burn forever. Because if everybody was to go burn forever, then that means that Earth's timeline, or the time and space, it just forever. I think we've been marginalized to believe that to a large degree because we simplified the science of things. But like you said, the energy of the Capricorn and the goat and the pentagram does, like you said, if you don't pay, you don't play. But when you've learned to master the internal self, then your heaven on earth can increase. And if you don't, your hell on earth can increase based on your thought pattern, process, and decision that you make.
Yes. Which is why people need to understand why their Saturn placement, even though it's a very karmic energy, and people don't understand depending on what house it is. So whatever house it sits on is where you're going to get your karma.
Right.
But Mr. Riley is right. I now want to call you Mr. Riley. Riley is right. The problem is that Saturn represents time. It represents time. It represents lessons. It is a patriarch, the patriarch of the zodiac sign. So what does a patriarch do? It represents, regulations, limitations. It represents being strict. So if you're not learning your lesson, on the real lesson behind why you're here on earth, then that's it. Then you can't evolve the way Riley was talking about.
You repeat it. See, if you don't master the lesson on this physical plane, then you will repeat the lesson until you get it. even in the Hindu religion, they talk about reincarnation, but there's a point in the Hindu religion where if you keep reincarnating, but there's a certain level that you get to the highest level of reincarnation, a mastery level. Well, I take that same concept and bring it here. If you don't master the lesson, then you are going to be part of that karmic energy. Is going to repeat itself over and over and over again. And I think that's the hardest test for people on the physical plane, because it's not easy. Earth is not easy.
No, Earth is the school of hard knocks.
Hard knocks, and it has a beautiful view. And a beautiful view with some very hard trials.
Yes.
But the thing about Capricorn, and we can move on if you want to after this. The thing about Capricorn that I also want to touch on is that, like you mentioned, it has its own. It's like its own solar system in a solar system, because it gets its rays of light from the sun, but really, typically, it has what I think maybe over 80 moons. And over 8. It's the way it's built. The concept. Saturn doesn't really need much, and that if you notice between that and the Capricorn mentality, they're very independent. You know, it's something I don't know. I haven't made the connection yet, but it's something about the planets with a lot of moons tend to almost be more independent or more isolated for some reason. But I don't know. I haven't done the research to make that a definite fact, but I know there's a connection between that in my observation. But Capricorn has almost 80 moons. Over 80 moons, probably. I think they first was like 60, and then they found like 80. Capricorn doesn't need much to thrive. It gets, like I said, it's a cold planet. So it pretty much, so the Capricorn energies of independence and the ability to take care of self and to put self first, the self-preservation principle comes from, and somewhat Scorpio too, that energy of Capricorn, self-preservation. Not necessarily trying to say that I always got to come first energy, but if I have to, I will. And that's a modality of Capricorn, depending on the vibration the energy that they make, that they sometimes give off. And I like that, because the Capricorn, to me, when you look at being at it's the seventh planet, when you start getting into Aquarius and Pisces, that Neptune energy, that you're going into a very metaphysical realm. The Capricorn is the last, it's like the last place you go between that tangible world and that highly spiritual world, and that's what that's why the Capricorn mentality and personality is real deep, because it's almost like, what's funny about Capricorn, now I'm thinking about it. If you come through here on this physical plane, right, and you leave here, the physical plane, the Capricorn, like the Grim Reaper, it decides when you come, when you go. That energy.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, that's what the 10th house represents. The 10th house represents I achieve. And so then, we go into the 11th house, which is I analyze, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have the 12th house. The 12th house is, the 11th and 12th house represents more of a spiritual aspect of that energy when it comes to those zodiac signs. But the 12th house represents I dream. So I achieve, I analyze, and I dream.
Right.
B Rabbit had a very good point. She had said that the Capricorn represents, it rules the skeletal and the joint system. in your body. It's very true, depending on which house it lays on. Yes, you know, but you know, I had mentioned this, I think it was in the Scorpio read, where I had mentioned the different ages of the zodiac sign. So, you know, when we get to Capricorn, you know, at this point, you're about to retire. So you're in your, you know, mid 50s, early 60s, about to retire. So what do you want to do? You want to collect your 401k. You're trying to, it's the energy of a person who knows they're about to retire. So they need to get whatever they need to get, you know, from their career, make sure that they already had left a legacy behind, you know, recognition, you know, and at this point, you know, it does become a little greedy, because it's like you have to push and push and push in order to, because you know you're about to retire soon. So, you know, what happens, you know, health-wise to a person that is in their 50s and 60s? Their joints starts to deteriorate. Your joints literally start to deteriorate. Your bone and your skeletal structure starts to deteriorate. It starts to diminish, you know, so to speak. And so that's why Capricorn does rule, yes, the skeletal system and the joint system. Absolutely.
That is correct. Remember in Devil's Advocate, you watched Devil's Advocate? Did you ever see it?
With Al Pacino?
Yeah.
I watched it many years ago. I can't remember too much. Why?
Well, remember this. See, now, he made a comment. He said, I've been here from the beginning, right?
Yes.
So if you've been there from the beginning, right, why was he so obsessed with having a family after that would come after him? Because he understood the energy and mastering power on this plane. I know in other words, he was saying, I know I'm powerful, but now I want to create but that's the Capricorn, that's the goat, greed. It's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough money. It's never going to be enough if you operate off that frequency. You know what I'm saying? But the Capricorn struggle is, like I mentioned before, I have to see it to believe it. I have to hold it to know that it's true. But that's their how can I say, that's their struggle. That's, or Islam, they say that's their jihad. That's what they have. That's their trial. They have to go through to understand that it's a higher level of spirituality. It's a high level of thought that they have to master. And then that's when you go into Aquarius, which is the higher level of thought. You transition to the higher intellect, the water bearer. You know, if you look at the water bearer, she's pouring water down, because the science and the intellect, the thought process is Uranus, whatever you want to call it, is different altogether. It's such a high level of intellect, of air frequency. It's fixed air, and fixed air is trapped air. You know, it moves different. It's a Uranus, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the coldest. It's colder than Neptune, even though it's closer to the sun. It's I think what is it? I think it's negative. Let me see my mind. Negative 370 degrees Fahrenheit. That's how cold Neptune is, and it's, I think it's mixed with ammonia, water, and methane at its core. That's why it's blue like that. Remember in Breaking Bad when they had that blue color, because they want to add that methane to give it that look. Well, actually, that is Uranus, because that it looks very bluish. It's a very pretty looking planet, but it does, like Libra, spins backwards, and it's tilted on like a 93-degree angle. So it's definitely, you know, I think that Uranus probably came into the solar system it joined. I don't even think they were there from the beginning. I don't know, because it's very opposite, very different. But that's
well,
the Aquarius energy.
that you're right. They do say that. They don't say it that much. They say that Uranus, both Uranus and Neptune. I hear Uranus and Neptune together because they're both kind of tilted on the axis. Instead of like this, they're like this. So they say that, you know, but you know, if you look at Greek mythology, you'll see exactly. I had explained Greek mythology in a Sagittarius read, and I went down the energies of, you know, the Greek gods. And yes, it's almost like as if they came from another solar system. Yeah.
Right. Now this is why people say that Aquarius people are cold. They're cold-hearted. They so distant. But look at the energy that precedes them. It's a cold planet. It operates on its own axis. It tilts different. You know, it doesn't really obey a lot of the laws of the other 7 planets do. You know, and like I said, Libra doesn't spin, but Libra spinning is a little different than the Uranus spin. It's a little different. Because Venus can trap heat, but Uranus can't. You know, so it's different modalities and how they operate. So the Aquarius sometimes is so, he or she, their thought process is so high level, genius, that sometimes it can't even, it's hard to even be interpreted on a physical level. It's almost metaphysical. It is metaphysical. Yeah, sometimes you get an Aquarius that talk and they don't shut their mouth sometimes. But it's not that it's so much data in their brain, it's hard to shut off. You know, what are you gonna do? That's their gift. But sometimes, because it is their gift, it could be their curse, because when you have that high level of intellect, high level of intelligence, that borderline extraterrestrial alien energy, but you're in a physical human body, you may find it hard for people to relate to you. Remember, the Gemini energy is that mutable air is like impulsive. I did it. Okay, who cares? That was yesterday, not today, whatever. But the Aquarius is the actual same energy of the Gemini, but with thought and discipline. So Gemini already a genius. So imagine taking that energy from Gemini and giving it the thought and total objectivity. Because remember, it's cold. It is fixed. So I'm going to totally, remember I said the Gemini, remember back I was saying the Gemini is like the gifted kid running around. Whereas the Aquarius is like the gifted adult, the gifted genius, and that is a different, at a higher level. And sometimes it's so high, it's hard to conceptualize.
Yeah. Actually, that brings me to this show that I'm watching, because, again, if you know me, I like cross-referencing movies and shows. I went to school for those who want to know my background, for film and media. So I have a love of film and media and anything that has to do with entertainment. And so one of the shows that I've been watching lately in the last couple of months is called Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot, I'm watching it on Prime Television. I don't have cable, but I think it's part of the USA Network. If you have USA Network, I'm sure you can watch the reruns, but it's definitely on Prime, Amazon Prime. Mr. Robot is the epitome, the embodiment of both Capricorn and Aquarius energy. And for those who haven't watched that show, I'll tell you a little bit about it. Mr. Robot is played by Elliot. The main character is Elliot, which is the actor's name is Rami Malek and Christian Slater. It's played by both. Mr. Robot is played by two characters, Rami Malek and Christian Slater. So here we have two people in one character playing Mr. Robot. And who is Mr. Robot? Mr. Robot is a hacker in this show. And what he wants to do is hack all the corruption, all the people that are corrupting the humanity, because that's what Aquarius represents. Aquarius represents humanitarian or humanity. And that show, what it does is it shows the energy of Capricorn. I think evil corporation, yes. So evil corporation is the energy of Capricorn, and Elliot, the character, the main character of that show, represents Aquarius. So here we have the hacker trying to hack evil corporation because it wants to save humanity from its capital rules and regulations and enforcement, slavery, and when I mean slavery of all kinds, tangible material items can enslave us. Remember, Capricorn is the imprisonment of the mind. And so Aquarius represents that liberation. So that show, Mr. Robot, if you ever want to know the dynamic between an Aquarius, Capricorn and Aquarius energy, that show is amazing to watch, because, understand that Aquarius, especially in that show, Elliot, he has a, what you call dissociative identity disorder.
Right.
So dissociative identity disorder is very common, and I'm not trying to diagnose my Aquarians, but it's very common for someone to say that to an Aquarian because you are so detached from society, but more so one-on-one. You don't do interpersonal. You do more group consciousness. That's what you represent too. You represent group consciousness. You're not like the polar opposite of Leo. Leo represents identity. You represent disassociating from your identity. So don't, when people call you weird or strange, that is exactly it. How do you identify who you are if you don't know who you are? You don't know who you are because you have that detached. So what you do is you're more comfortable, my Aquarians, you're more comfortable with groups, with helping people, or on the extreme side, you're more comfortable being anarchist or rebels. But that's your energy. That is the 11th house energy. I'm not saying all Aquarius are like this, but that's the 11th house energy. Abraham Lincoln is a very good example of an Aquarian. And Capricorn energy as well. Because remember, I need you to understand that, Capricorn and Aquarius are both Saturn ruled, even though Aquarius has its own planet of Uranus. And a great example of an Aquarius energy is Abraham Lincoln, which is the 16th president of the United States. He was assassinated. Abraham Lincoln led the nation to the Civil War. Because of slavery. Do you understand how that works? Because of slavery, Capricorn energy, Abraham Lincoln, who was an Aquarius, mind you, led the nation into a civil war because of slavery. So that also is another representation of Capricorn and Aquarius dynamic.
Yes. I want to add to that. Abraham Lincoln said, if I can save the Union and keep slaves, I will. If I could save the Union and free them all, I will. So even though Abraham Lincoln is known for freeing the slaves. His objective was saving the Union at any cost. So, because he understood that I have to keep the bigger picture. Slavery, keeping slaves, if that would have been able to, if the South would have said, you know what, we're gonna share, we're gonna share with you guys, but give us our slaves, Lincoln would have said yes. Because the bigger picture was not slavery, the bigger picture was the country being united monetarily, economically, and also being together as far as a strong union, so other countries could not invade it. So slavery was not the main picture; it was a byproduct of his agenda, and that's if you look it up, it's on public record. Was that speech? So, but I'm agreeing with you. The big picture was as the Aquarius mind, what can I do as a totality? And I think that's why sometimes they appear to be different. Like, you ever notice, like, all right, like there's certain sounds that a mouse can hear that we can't hear, or insects can hear that we can't hear. It's like a frequency and a vibration, right? That are limited to certain people's ability to detect. That is like the Aquarius mind frame. That's their energy, you know. In the grand scheme of things, cold trumps heat in space. So that's why you can see ice crystals and stuff like that because because of the cold you have to get a vision of it because it traps it. Or when you lack air, when air is missing and there's no moisture, right? That's a matter of fixed air, So cold does not always mean negative. It just means non-emotional. And sometimes, depending on the certain circumstance, you make unemotional decisions, not with your heart, but with your mind. And that's why Aquarius are important. Because sometimes you got to say, excuse my language, fuck your feelings. This is bigger. That's why the opposite of Aquarius is what?
Leo.
Right. And Leo likes to be acknowledged. It likes to feel like it's being adored or loved. The Aquarius isn't, it detached. I don't have time. I don't have I don't have the stomach or the time to worry about stuff like that. Could you imagine if the universe operated off emotion? You cannot build a society, a platform. You cannot build an empire on emotion. You can't. You cannot. It's similar to like building a foundation on the exception of a rule. Can you imagine if I want to build a skyscraper and I say, well, there's a chance that 2% of somebody might get hurt, and somebody says, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's scrap it. No, that 98% trumps that 2, and that's the Aquarius mindset. I'm objective, and you need that. You want to build a business? Then get out your feelings. Sometimes you got to fire people that ain't doing shit. The universe doesn't have time for tears all the time. Yes, there is a place in the world to be sensitive, and you need that Cancer energy. You need that water energy. You do need it, but there are also times where your feelings have. Who cares? Who cares? There's laws that are governed that trump feelings. You could be the nicest person in the world, right? Or you're a nice person. Your building, there's a fire in your building, right? And people are running to save themselves, and you got pictures that you left in your house. You gonna go back and get those pictures, or you gonna go outside and be safe? fuck your feelings. Safety, right?
Well, people have to understand that about Aquarius because, yes, the polar opposite of Aquarius is Leo, and Leo is, sick of being sick. I just want to say hi real quick to a few people that joined the chat. Thank you, sick of being sick. I'm actually going back to because sick of being sick is saying don't like emotional people. We pull back from them. We still have a heart. Yes, you still have a heart because absolutely you're the polar opposite of Leo. Don't get it twisted. You do pull from the polar opposite of your sign, no matter which sign you are. There's an inner soul, which represents the first six houses. The first six houses is your inner soul. And then the last six houses, starting with Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, those signs represent your outer soul. So basically your ego has shed. By the time we get to the 11th and 12th house, there is no ego. The ego has shed. Michael Cook, thank you so much for joining the chat. I also saw 369. Thank you, 369, for joining the chat. But yes, when it comes to dating in Aquarius or being in an Aquarius relationship, do not expect an Aquarius to, compliment you on your outfit, on your hair. Not that they didn't notice, because that's one thing Aquarius do notice. They notice everything. They may not talk about it because if it involves some type of emotion or feeling, and it's not that they don't care, it's not that they don't want to compliment people. It really goes by. It's like they say it in their head. They're like, oh, that outfit looks nice, or, their hair looks nice, but they don't really speak it because it's like their mind is going somewhere else. It's their mind is just like Riley was saying earlier about their mind. It's just, it's more collective than one-on-one. And so don't expect an Aquarius to be very emotional in a relationship. Can they be emotional? Absolutely, they can. It's just that, if you're looking too much for stimulation from an Aquarius, an emotional stimulation from an Aquarius, you're not going to get it from them. They're not here. They are not here to build people's egos. They're not here to build people ego. Like this is not what they're here for. They're ruled by Uranus. The 11th house placement people are not here to make you feel better. They're not here to tell you how nice your car looks or how good your hair looks, or they're not here to have a shoulder for you to cry on. They're not here for that. They're here for something bigger.
You know how you make an Aquarius fall in love with you?
How?
I'm gonna tell you the secret. All right. With most air signs, actually, but Aquarius for sure. You have to meet them with extreme intelligence, but you have to give them a lot of space. Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
If you don't have a high IQ, leave Aquarius people alone. I hate to say it like that. I hate to be so blunt. That's just the Aries in me. If you don't have the mental fortitude or understanding of things, if you can't keep up with them, leave them, just go. Because they're gonna leave you anyway. So you don't have to be the first. It's just gonna happen. You have to stimulate their mind, and then the heart may follow, and give them room to process that which you stimulate. Rinse and repeat. Then you have a shot. But all that lovey-dovey, they'll listen. Now, this is the thing now. This is the thing about that. I'll wait for Patreon, but I can't wait. I'm gonna say it now. This is the thing. I'm gonna say it. This is the thing about that. When you have them, when they remember, fixed air, okay? Fixed air. When they have intellectualized why they should be with you, they can stay there for a long time. And they may actually have a hard time detaching once you got to on a certain emotional plane, which is hard to do. Now, disclaimer, once they have detached, they are not going back, though. It's over. You know what I'm saying? But they will have to find a way to intellectualize. No, I didn't say emotionally. I said intellectualize why this shouldn't happen anymore. Because you stimulated their mind. They're not cancers. All that flower and poem shit's not just going to work with them. It's a different stimulation. Talking to Aquarius about ideas and plans and stars and galaxies and black holes and mathematical equations and science and philosophy. Now you got them. If you can't do that consistently, that goes for Gemini too, and Libra. But Libra's a little bit different because Libra. Well, we'll get to that, but that goes for Gemini and Gemini and Aquarius primarily. Those two, when it comes to mental stimulation, they need it. They fiend for it. It's like water to a well with them. So with Aquarius, you want to stimulate them intellectually. Don't stress them out. Don't be calling every 5 minutes. Don't do that. They'll come to you. Now, if you're smart and you're intelligent, they'll come for more. They'll just keep coming. They'll love it. They can't help it. But if you ain't got it to give, don't even try. Or learn, don't even try. My opinion. Because when they cut you off, when they don't want you no more, they're cold, man. They'll let you, they don't care. You can be, I love you. They're like, okay. And what's love got to do with it? What does you loving me got to do with the way I feel? Because some signs like Pisces, they'll love you because you love them. But Aquarius is like, no. They, so that's my interpretation. And I've dealt with a lot of Aquarius, in my time. So I've learned how to deal with them, and I like them. They, with me, Aries and Aquarius, we're fine. Because I'm not going to be, Aries, we're not going to really be under you like that too much. We're going to give you much space. And we're not going to stress you out. So if you're a smart Aries, you can hang with them. If you, just be careful with them as far as don't play with them, man. Don't think you can outsmart them. Don't think you can intellectualize them. They'll talk you down. They can run their mouth a mile a minute. Their brain just keeps going and going and going and going and going. You're not going to play. Don't play with them like that. You're not going to win. You got to be a genius to play with them.
Yeah, I agree. I love mental stimulation. I literally will go for a guy who's smarter than a guy who's really good looking. I have a moon in Aquarius, and that's pretty hard for me because, to have a moon placement in Aquarius, the moon represents feelings and the moon represents reactions. So to have this energy in this placement, it's a goddamn joke. But whatever, I love that placement. I learned to love that placement. 11th house, the people with 11th house placement, they come from again, just like Capricorn, just like Scorpio, Capricorn, but mostly Scorpio and Aquarius. I want to say mostly Scorpio and Aquarius, the 8th house and 11th house. It represents bad karma. And so these people reincarnate in this earth with already their luck is not going to, they're gonna go through obstacles and challenges. Both these 8th house and 11th house people are going to go through obstacles, challenges. And that's just karma from past lives. But one thing about them is that they, for Scorpio, 8th house people, what happens with them when they become an adult, they don't trust people. So they don't trust easily. And for an Aquarius, when they become an adult, they detach from emotions. But this is what happens, a lot of Aquarius, they grow up in dysfunctional homes. And because they end up growing up in dysfunctional homes, this is how they end up learning how to detach from someone as they grow up, and I'm not saying all Aquarius come from dysfunctional home, but there's always some type of dysfunction, because again, it's that karmic energy from a past life. Again, very strong always in the 8th and 11th house. And I happen to have both those houses strongly, especially the 8th house in my chart. So, but that's what happened. So here it is. I myself has an 8th house and 11th house, person who has this energy, these placements, these houses in my birth chart. It was pretty difficult for me, and even until this day, it's pretty difficult for me to really get close to someone because of that 8th house karmic energy. And for me, and even easier for me to detach because of that 11th house karmic energy. But that's just the way it is, and I'm just going to do a little recap for the 10th and 11th house, because we're going, back and forth between the 10th and 11th house. But the 10th house represents achieving high status. It represents your purpose. Okay, this is what these houses represent, 10th and 11th house. This is what these houses represent on your birth chart. So again, 10th house represents achieving your highest status, your purpose. All right. It also represents a sacrifice. With 10th house placements, you have to in order for you to acquire, you have to sacrifice something. Or again, if you don't pay, you don't play. All right. This is Papa Saturn. This is Papa Karma. This is Papa Time. But, I like to call Saturn Papa Saturn. I don't know why I call Saturn Papa Saturn, but this is my thing. And then the 11th house represents cult leader, group consciousness. This is one of the things that energy of the 11th house represents. Okay. So anything that has to do with groups is in humanitarian, or anything that has to do with reaching a level of evolution. So like we were talking about mind stimulation, someone that is smart. I've not to go into my personal business, but I've dealt with people who have like their eye candy. And then I've dealt with people who have a really good, intellect. I'm telling you right now, an Aquarius will pick someone over intellect than features. That's an Aquarius. And like Riley was saying, a Gemini also. Another movie I wanted to cross-reference, I was cross-referencing Mr. Robot earlier, but I want to say The Fight Club. Every time I talk about Aquarius, I love talking about the movie The Fight Club, because that's another energy of Capricorn and Aquarius. The Fight Club with Brad Pitt and Edward Norton represents again. So remember I was talking about Mr. Robot and how Brad Pitt in Fight Club, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton plays the same character, but two people. That's exactly the show, Mr. Robot. Again, the dissociative identity disorder, the energy behind these people. The 11th house represents psychosocial, psycho-emotional. It represents anything that has to do with the psyche. So it represents the mind. The 11th house represents the mind big time, whether it's negative or positive. That's what it represents. And so in that movie, you have one character, and we don't know it. We don't know that Brad Pitt is actually Edward Norton in that movie. I can't remember the main character name, but that's another perfect example of an Aquarius energy trying to save humanity from a corporation, from big corporations, you know, that Capricorn, you know, enslavement of the mind, or prison of the mind, laws, regulation versus, you know, group consciousness, anarchy, radicals with Aquarius, you know. So understand that that's the binary function of Saturn with Uranus. All right, that's why we really wanted to really bring these two signs together in this video, because I have 10th house placements, but I have a moon in Aquarius. So because having Aquarius in my chart, you know, I want you guys to understand with Aquarius placements, you know, you automatically are ruled by Saturn, which makes you have 10th house placements. You have 10th house placements because you are also ruled by Saturn. So, you know, for those who like tarot, because I don't know, you know, I do tarot. A lot of my content has to do with tarot. You know, you should really, you know, think about listening to Capricorn readings as well. And Capricorns, you should really think about, you know, also once in a while, looking at Aquarius readings, because it will coincide. And, you know, and I'm just bringing out those two signs because that's what that's the two signs we're talking about. But, you know, just so you know, if it resonates, Capricorn, Aquarius, no matter what sign you are, if you're an Aquarius looking at a Capricorn read, believe it or not, you may end up resonating a lot with the Capricorn energy in tarot reading and vice versa. Okay. Also, Capricorn and Aquarius, because you are more of mind, all about the mind, even though Capricorn is more about like the energy of greed, and Aquarius is more about the energy of humanitarian or group consciousness. You know, that in itself, you guys have amazing powers when it comes to your mind. You guys could easily manipulate energy to your favor. Understand that, Capricorn and Aquarius, you have the power to manipulate energy. You have the power to mind bend people's thoughts. It's not a joke. It's one of your amazing psychic powers. Along other signs have their own psychic powers, but you, Capricorn and Aquarius, you have the power of the mind. You have the power, Capricorn, to manipulate people's energy, and Aquarius, you have the ability to literally bend people's minds and thoughts. That is your energy. That's what you represent. As far as your psychic abilities, you were given that by you. That is your birthright with that energy. But, you know, disclaimer: if you're not high vibrational, if you're not evolved, if you're a certain age, not under 30, you still have a little bit more growing up to do, or build more character. But understand, at a certain age, 30, 35, you can have the ability to bend energy or manipulate energy and change people's mind. That's just a superpower for my Capricorns and my Aquarius out there. You know, Aquarius, you are connected to everything. You are Wi-Fi. I don't know if have you ever seen, Riley, the image of Uranus? You ever seen the little symbol of Uranus with the antennas? You've seen in Mercury, the planet Mercury has it too, those little antenna. But it's so funny because Uranus is actually in Greek mythology, Uranus is the great grandfather of Mercury. But if you look at the symbols of both these planets, of Uranus and Mercury, they both have like little antennas. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it. Absolutely.
Let's see. I have I just want to see if anybody has any questions. Guys, if you have any questions, we are more than welcome to take questions now. Michael is still learning. You know what else is a good movie? I could cross-reference. You watched the Judas and the Messiah lately, right?
No.
On HBO.
No, what's that about?
You sent me like a little clip about it. I'm a revolutionary.
Oh yes, Judas and the Messiah. Oh, pardon me. Yes. I'm going on with this now. Yes.
That's another Capricorn and Aquarius energy where the Black Panther Party represents radicals, extremists, group consciousness, you know, and they were going against the police, which represents, you know, Capricorn energy, law, enforcement, imprisonment.
Right.
What did you think about that movie? How did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. I think that, you know, when you have, you know, a system that is designed, because remember, you know, the Black Panther Party originated from when the police in California were, you know, basically lining them up in a way where if they crossed a certain out of South Central, the police would be very aggressive with them, beat them, reroute them. So the Black Panther Party was formulated for police protection in its origins, in the original state. And to this day, I don't know if people realize that, but you know, the reason why we have free lunch in school, free breakfast in school, or free lunch in school, was because of the Black Panther Party. You know, that school lunch that people have, that they started that in California. So that they came out of, you know, that era of police brutality. Remember, you're talking the 60s, 70s, no cameras. You know, you can barely do anything, you know. So imagine what happened in Ronnie King in 93, right? Now, rewind that 20, 30 years before with no cameras. So they was going through a lot, and you know, I admire anybody that goes against the system in the best interest of safety. You know, why not? You know, because if people say, well, they were a little extreme. Well, guess what? If cops are killing people, that's extreme too. How about that? You know, you can't be a hypocrite. You know, you match energy. You come for me, I come for you. You know, that's how we do it. You leave me alone, leave you alone. But there's no way you're gonna be, you know, shooting and rerouting people. You can't go to Belly Hill. You can't go to Belly Hills. Take your ass back to South Central. You know, just stopping, frisking, harassment. Remember, all these laws that they changed now was in full effect back then. So I'm definitely down. I'm definitely free with it. But that's just the Aries in me. I want all smoke. I don't care.
Yeah. I agree. That was another movie that I was thinking of when it came to Capricorn and Aquarius energy. And the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was another example that I was going to give as far as Capricorn and Aquarius energy. I don't know if anyone's watched the latest Joker movie. I think it came out like 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, with Joaquin Phoenix, where you see, you know, this person in a dysfunctional home. And eventually, as an adult, he becomes detached from everything. And then not only is he detached, but you get to see, you know, the rising of the Joker. And we all know the Joker represents, you know, the anarchist, the rebel, you know, anything that goes against conventional, moral, or anything ethical or regulation. So that was another good movie that I wanted to cross-reference as far as Capricorn.
Batman loved the Joker anyway. Batman loved the Joker.
Batman loved the Joker.
He loves him. That's why he can never kill a Joker. He can't. Because the Joker and Batman are the same.
Yes.
They're both outcasts.
Yes. You're right.
And he can't kill Batman either. And he's in love with Harley. Batman loves Harley Quinn. He loves her deep inside. You know.
He loves who?
Harley Quinn. He likes her a lot. He's into her.
Yes.
And she knows it, and she plays him every time. But Batman, the Joker can't kill. But I'm gonna break this down. The reason why the Joker can't kill Batman, Batman can't kill Joker is because you remember, in these elements, in these forces of nature, you need them to it's symbiotic. They coexist. They need each other to thrive. You can't have water without fire. You can't have air without earth. You need these things. All these elements are a balance. It's a chi, an internal chi that you have. So that represents that. I can't to take you out is to kill a part of me. You know what I'm saying? And that represents that science and how it plays. I mean, it's in cartoon. People not realizing that's what's happening. That's really happening. That those two elements are important. Yeah, I go against the grain, and yeah, I fight for what's right. But what is right? What is against the grain? Based on what? On what standard? Remember what I told you the other day, right? I said sometimes law breakers are law makers. So it's the delicate polarity in the universe that's necessary.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that. I personally, and let me tell you, as an Aquarius, I'm gonna tell you right now, please don't blame me. I have this 11th house placement in my moon. I personally believe that chaos is order and order is chaos. So when I see something that's orderly, I'm like, there's something about that's chaotic. But this is my perception of what chaos and order means, because to me it's the same coin, two sides, two sides of the same coin.
Well, remember what I mentioned earlier. What in the pentagram, what is south? It's fire, right?
Yes.
And that's where the hell is in the earth. That's where that comes from. But south is fire. But what does the earth do to cleanse itself?
Water.
Volcano.
Fire, yes.
So you need chaos to create balance. So you're not on point. You're right.
Oh, see, I'm right. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Water does cleanse, but not water doesn't cleanse at that capacity. A volcano is necessary to cleanse and create balance inside the Earth's surface. I mean, inside in the Earth's core. That's necessary. See, rain cleanses in a different fashion when it comes from the clouds. Air cleans every earth. So they all. That's why they say cleanliness is godliness, because every element cleans in its own fashion.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I wasn't way off, because this is
it wasn't off. It wasn't off. You just need some. You need a little alley-oop. I got you.
You can't say those things out loud.
To an Aquarius, you can.
I know. To an Aquarius, I can.
You know what's crazy though? You know what's crazy? It's funny because I always say this to myself, and I've been saying this for a long time. With air signs, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius, like I was saying this to you a couple weeks ago. The ones that use substances like drugs or whatever, a lot of them, they get high to be sober, not to get high. Because their mind is always working. They have to really reset themselves. Remember something. If a planet spins opposite of a normal and natural order, then everything that they do is going to be backwards than everybody else.
Yes, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in Aquarius, they might get drunk or high, and they might not necessarily be aggressive. They might be actually chill. And then when they're not high, they wilding out. You know what I'm saying? So that energy represents how that backwards is like, I don't do what everybody else is doing. I'm my own leader. I'm my own thought pattern. You hear Kanye talk about that all the time. You're not gonna marginalize me. You're not gonna. But he's a Gemini, so his shit is coming all over the place. It's all over the place. But if you can decipher it and put it in the right context, he's not 100% wrong. He just hasn't materialized in a mature fashion because he's just mutable air. I mean, mutable air just coming out all over the place. Whereas Aquarius won't be doing all those damn tweets, but it will be the same. It will be a high level of concept. But yeah, because people who are naturally smart have to learn how to turn that shit off. They won't be able to sleep at night. When you mad smart, you can't sleep good at night. It's hard to, because like, how do you shut the damn computer off? You know what I mean? How you shut this shit off? How you shut it off?
Yeah.
You know, so I admire them. I appreciate them. I love Aquarius people. I admire Capricorn people because you need people who are disciplined. You need people who are objectional. You need that. I'm not a really emotional man myself, so I respect it. I don't really. I mean, I don't care about your feelings, but my purpose is more important than my feelings. As a man, I can't deal with emotion like that. That's not gonna help me. Now, female, I understand. She gives birth on the planet. She's more nurturing by nature. I get it. But as a man, personally, my feelings take a back seat to my objective and my purpose. My purpose is greater than my feelings. And many to recognize that, to be strong men. People say, "Oh, that's toxic masculinity. That's toxic masculinity." No, it's not. They'll tell you that, but guess what? The same people that tell you that that's toxic masculinity, right, have babies by dudes who operate like me.
Yeah.
Strong, disciplined, no nonsense, protectors. So people will tell you, "Oh, be more sensitive and be more." Yeah, all right. And no women don't even look at them barely. And if they do, it's like a short spell to feel better because they're attracted to really the dominant alpha male, but they kind of feel like, damn, I can't get them. I can't. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna go to this sensitive dude for a spell. But in the back of their mind, they're like, damn, I can't connect with this guy, even though he's nice. But that's Patreon conversation, right? And you want me to hold it. I know you want me to hold it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Riley and I have conversations like this all the time where, we were talking about, we've been talking about alpha beta situations like this in relationships for a long time. And in which one do feminine energy, gravitate to, or masculine energy gravitate to. And it's always that alpha energy, like it's that alpha energy, but that represents the animal kingdom. If you look at the animal kingdom, it's the same thing,
right? Right, because you can't, at the end of the day, most females want to feel safe and protected. Protection is even though people say, well, we live in times now where people call the cop for safety and all that, but the cops don't lay next to you at night. The cop is not going unless you're married to one. You need that male energy is dying now, and it's necessary. A woman needs to know that she feels safe in a man that can protect her. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not toxic. That's nature. Okay? What do animals do to mate? The strong ones get to mate because guess why? The strong ones prove to the woman they have dominant DNA. So that lets the woman know that she will produce strong offspring. Duh. Like, it's common sense to people who understand common sense. What do peacocks do? They don't fight, right? But the male, he spreads his feathers up, and she picks the design that she thinks is in the best interest, because the prettier the feathers are, that's strong DNA for her offspring. What do rams do? What do lions do? What do bears do? They all fight for the right to mate. That's not a coincidence. And that is Aquarius energy. It's not a feeling. That's not about your feelings. The female lion doesn't run back to the lion that got his ass kicked, even though she got babies by him, even though she knows that that male's gonna kill the cubs of that man. She still goes with him. You know why? It's not about her feelings. It's about her offspring and the longevity of her lineage. Fuck your feelings. Got your ass kicked. Sorry, buddy. New DNA. I got to do it. And guess what happens? When the new lion kills the cubs of the old lion that he beat up, the woman automatically starts going into heat instinctively. Science.
Going into heat.
And science is based on it's not emotional. It's based on facts. So you need the Aquarius energy. You need that dominant male, you know what I'm saying, energy. A man that provides, protects, that's important. Not somebody I'm gonna call, we're gonna get pedicured together. Get out of here. I'm not saying you shouldn't keep yourself cruel. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, you know, I think that we better be very mindful of having men around that can provide and protect. It's very important. It's essential.
Yeah. No, I you know, but you know, there has to be a balance, you know, right? Because that's what it's all about. Eventually, you know, that seventh house balance, you know, we have to have both alpha and beta. We have to have, you know, the dominant and the one that's non-dominant, you know, because there's always need to be a balance, you know. That is the universal law. So we also have to understand that as well.
You know what the beta man does?
What?
He's the guy. I hate to be an asshole sometimes, but he's the guy that's liking all your pictures and telling you how beautiful you are and this and that. He's that guy. She never, though, the women do that. That's what you call non-sexual attention. The beta male will give you that make you feel good, but with who she deal with, the dude that's not doing none of that stuff 90% of the time. Because non-sexual attention means that I'm getting attention non-sexually from these men, right? But I want that attention from these men because I might not be getting it from this alpha male over here. Because when a man is on his purpose, when a man is on his mission, he's about his money, he's about his focus. He's not about just chasing ass and spending money in clubs. He's about his purpose, and he may not have time to be underneath a woman 24/7. You know what I'm saying? So what she do is she go online, stick a little booty out, and 100,000 guys go, look good, girl. Hey, you look good. She don't know.
Riley, can I ask you a question? And this is me because I have masculine energy. You know, I feel like I have a little bit of both. I could be very feminine because I have a lot of Piscean in me. I have Jupiter in Pisces, but I also have, you know, like strong fire and air placement, which is very masculine.
Right.
But I know how to play both parts. You know, as I got older, I eventually knew how to play both parts. And I don't mind playing both. But listen, there are times where I can't control it. There are times where I'm going to be real feminine. And then there's times where I'm going to be very masculine. But because I'm an alpha person. I love my alpha males that are smart. That are smart. In some shape, form, or other. You got to be smart about something. Show me something that I don't know. But what does an alpha male go for more? Like, do they go for like the damsel in distress, or do they go for like you know, do they mind the you know what I mean, like the masculine side of that female? You know what I mean?
The usually the strong dominant alpha male type, he's gonna usually pick the person that is aligned, whoever that is aligned with his vision. See, the thing about it is you have to find a woman that's aligned with what you do and what you believe in. Because if you don't have things aligned or not balanced, strong or not, you're gonna be some problems. But it's easier to have somebody who's aligned, because then there's no reason to flex muscles or to argue or to debate. The reason why most couples have a hard time is because they're on two different frequencies. So if you're a strong woman and knows that and y'all have the same vision and purpose, that's fine. If you a submissive woman and you support his purpose, and he acknowledges that you're going to support him, he's going to support you, and vice versa, then it should be fine. There is no one way. Alpha male, in my definition, is who's in tune with himself and carries out who he is consistently, no matter who judges him and no matter who cares. So you can be an alpha male and like to wear funny looking ass shoes, but that's your style and you rock it, then you are in your masculine frame. That's who you are. There's no one size fits all to being a strong, dominant man. It's being comfortable in your own skin and going after your purpose and fulfilling yourself and don't let nobody get in your way. So if the woman sees that vision in you and she supports it, then that's fine. You know, now, if you're talking about strong, when you say strong, you mean that you're trying to dominate him?
No, I'm not trying to dominate them. You answered my question. You're right. It has to be there has to be some type of common ground or common vision, because if there isn't, it's not going to work out no matter what.
No, it's not going to work out. That's what a woman falls in love with. Get a woman that falls in love with your vision once she falls in love with you. A woman should fall in love with a man's vision once she falls in love with him.
Yeah. Okay? No, I agree.
Fall in love with the man's vision. So because human beings sometimes will fall short. We're not made perfection. We strive for it, but the best man gets excellence from us as human beings. So with that being said, if a woman falls in love with the man's vision, she can even carry it on, even when he's going through his time when he may not be as strong as he might need to be, or he gets sick, or he loses his job. If she falls in love with his vision more than him, it will last. Now, as a man, have a vision, have a goal, and play and see it as much as you can. So if things do go wrong, at least she can carry it on. You know what I'm saying? Because she loved the vision, and she loved that you have the vision. That's what's important. You know, sometimes we fall in love with the person and we build up this image of who they are because we like them and we love them. But as soon as that we see error in them, we begin to judge them because we fell in love with them, not what they represent. And sometimes that can go astray. We gotta love the vision of the person. So when the person because the vision is what's going to take both parties to the next level. You know what I'm saying? The vision is what brings the money, which brings the security, which brings the influence that you can pass on to your offspring when you're not here. You know, it's the reason why I'll focus on this. I'm gonna wrap it up. Is because how can you really fall in love with somebody when we're constantly changing every day? So, did you love the same Riley you loved in 2003? Because I'm not that Riley anymore. So, in other words, we have to be very mindful that we don't try to create an image of people who we think in our mind are who we want to love and want to stay there. Because now when you stay there, that's not fair to the person that's growing. And guess what? You growing too. You're not the same person that you was 10 years ago. So we got to be very, very mindful of how we focus so much on the person and not the person's vision, not the person's frequency, energy, commonality. That's the key. That's where love really comes from.
Yeah, I agree. And to answer your question about being dominant, I only like to be dominant in one location, and that's the bedroom. I
knew that was coming. I knew that was going to come from your Scorpio ass. I knew it was going to come. I'll wait for it.
I can't. Listen, that
it.
is my area of expertise when it comes to domination. So, you know, if I have to dominate you outside of the bedroom, it's not going to work out.
I hear you, Ma. I hear you.
All right. Well, all right. I think we went like way over.
That's fine.
Astrology.
That's fine. If anybody has any questions, they can be, you know, I know.
No, nobody has question. You know, people are just, you know, thank you. So people are actually really,
cool.
They're really listening to us, and I really thank you guys for your support and everything. I appreciate all of you. We're gonna do Pisces next week, so, and then we're gonna wrap it up. All right. So
we'll do Monday. We'll do Pisces Monday and Tuesday.
I don't like to give out dates, because when I do that, it's a jinx. I jinx that date is jinx for me. So
I'll give it out. I'll give it out Monday.
Next week we'll wrap it up and do Pisces. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, B Rabbit, for the super chat. And I'll see you guys next week for the insight and information for Pisces. All right. Bye.